Hello, everybody. This is Health Supercharger or Lucas. I wanted to talk to you today about our biological or human biological climate. Now, this is a climate that humans thrive, that humans have ideal temperatures and other conditions where life is usually more pleasant year round on average. Now, tropical climates are found near the equator. Here you can see three different classifications of tropical climates. Now, to put it into simple terms, the dark blue tropical climates here, which you can see on the map, are more wet than the lighter blue. Especially the lightest blue climate is basically less wet. So you have extended periods where you have dry season for few to several months. In the mid dark blue, you have a short dry season, but there still is a dry season. And in the blue, it's classified as a climate which is warm, just like the other climates. However, this has no dry season. It has usually there is a dry season, but it's still wet. Let's just say. Now, dry season usually means that you get like 1 or 2 rainy days in a not even days, parts of days in a month or two. They measure this, of course. There's a parameter, how many inches or millimeters, but let's just say that in the blue, dark blue is hot climate, a little bit more muggier, perhaps, yes, because you have more moisture, and but it will be more lush, more green, more jungly, um, more truer in terms of its absolute like tropical jungles and stuff like that. So you can see that we have the tropics in Central America and South America on the left. Now in the center we have the tropics of the Central African region, and then we have the Asian or Malaysia, Asia, and a little bit of Northern Australia, um, where Cairns and anything north of Cairns on the eastern coast is classified as a tropical climate. Now, you probably can't see it from here, but in the North American side, it goes up to the very tip of Florida. But anyways, let's have a look a little bit. Let's zoom up here so we can see things better and have a look at our human natural climate or our biological climate where we can live and thrive, where our food is grown year round, and where we need minimal to no clothing to survive year round, and where we get enough sunshine to meet our needs, and it's just basically the ideal climate. Now this is the zoomed up look at the tropics. This is where basically our ideal human climate is, and where the temperatures and everything are nice and warm year round. And here you can see Costa Rica on the left. It's approximately 10 degrees north of the equator, and due to being so close to the equator, it has basically close proximity to the solar equator, in other words, where the sun shines directly upon Earth, therefore making it hot country or hot climate. Now let's look at zoomed up even more. Okay guys, so here we have a nice zoomed up section of the Central American and South American tropical region of the world. Now, what you can see here is that the farthest north tropical climates are the very southeast tip of Florida, and as well in Mexico on the Pacific, just north of, well, just a bit north of Mazatlan on the Pacific. You can see the lightest shades of blue, which indicate a tropical climate where the temperature is eternally warm. I do believe it's about 18 degrees average mean temperature or higher, and as well meeting its precipitation needs. Now, in the light blue, it is going to be quite dry relative to the dark blue, so keep in mind that if you want the jungles, you gotta go closer towards the darker shades of blue. But here in the in this country, of course, you have Cuba and you have the all the different countries within the uh, Atlantic. And when we look at the mainland, you've got Mexico on the very left, and then you've got Guatemala and Belize, which are just where the dark blue section is, um, above the above the above the square and a little bit to the left. And then you've got Honduras. Nicaragua is just north of Costa Rica. Honduras is just north of Nicaragua. And you've got Costa Rica in the box, clearly shown here. And just to the right of Costa Rica, you've got a little tiny country called Panama. And Panama is the last country in Central America, which is tropical. And it's the last country, period. And then you've got South America, which is Colombia and Ecuador, which goes both of these countries actually the equator goes through. You can see the green equator going through the country of Ecuador, just through northern tip and then southern part of Colombia as well. Now you can see as well that for some interesting reason in Colombia and mostly in Colombia, that there is a region where is not tropical. Even though it's surrounded by tropical, you have a big kind of a lake where it's a gray region. That's due to the elevation. It's quite high elevation and does not meet the temperature specifications of a tropical climate. So that's something I'd like to point out to you guys and anybody who's listening in this world to this information that I have to share with you. I spent 4.5 winters so far in the tropics and at least 2 springs or so. And as well visited Australia, Central America, and at least 7 or 8 countries, right? And I lived 27 months in the tropics so far. And so elevation plays a big role. Every 100 meters that you go up in elevation, you get a little drop of temperature. So if you go high enough, then all of a sudden it doesn't become tropical anymore. And so let's look at this section even more zoomed up. Okay, so finally we can see where Costa Rica is. To the east of Costa Rica is Panama, which is the last country of Central America. To north is the Nicaragua, and then north of that is Honduras. Then you've got Guatemala, Belize, and of course Mexico. Mexico is not really considered a Central American country, but you've got anyways Mexico here, so you can see that even Mexico has tropics and plenty of them. And you can see interestingly how in Guatemala, which is the country just to the right of dead center, is there's a little region, gray region, which is not tropical. Now, like I said before, elevation. Guatemala has mountains. You can have such a high elevation that within the tropical region, the temperatures are cool enough to classify as different climates. And as well, same thing in Mexico. On the very bottom tip on the southern coastline, that's around Acapulco region. It is a savanna type climate. It's quite dry, and yes, it's hot, but not wet enough to be classified as tropics. And something else I'd like to point out to you that's interesting. Have you noticed the especially in Costa Rica and in Nicaragua, you can see it vividly here, the um, unique pattern on the Caribbean. We have, so in other words, on the eastern coastline, we have a darker blue climate. In other words, we have a no dry season climate. Um, Even in the dry season, there's enough rainfall to classify it as a wet tropical climate. Um, that's interesting. That's partly due to the rotation of the Earth going towards the east and bringing the warm, moist air from the Caribbean. And it's also partly due to the mountain range that runs in the center of Costa Rica. And on the Pacific, you've got more drier climate. So I'd like you to see the blue, the light blue, except in the very, very northwest corner of Nicaragua, which is above the triangle. You can see a little tiny, tiny region where it is actually blue, dark blue. That's going to typically mean that it's pretty much wet all the time. It's not necessarily an ideal climate, in my opinion. The dark blue is just a little bit too wet, too damp. Your sheets, your bedding won't dry well. You won't get the sunshine. You won't get that uh, extended sunshine period every day. Um, You'll have way more cloudy days, and you'll have more days period that have rain, and the rains will be longer, more heavier. And generally I would recommend the medium or the lighter tropics. The medium is actually quite nice. So is the lighter blue as well. I've driven through most of these, and frankly, even some of these gray regions are not bad. The high elevation, just a little bit cool during certain times of the year, but maybe Acapulco might not be the best. That dry heat all the time, not enough moisture. Um, I'd rather be in Guatemala where there is no tropical climate than in that Acapulco region on the south, very south coast of the coastline. But notice how Panama has a beautiful climate, and it as well has a more wet region on the Caribbean side, although it's a little bit harder to see. And as well, the very most eastern part of it is full on wet region as well. So, anyways, let's look at Costa Rica finally. So here's the map of Costa Rica. You can see the mountains making a significant barrier between the Atlantic and the Pacific. And because of the rotation of Earth, the moisture comes from the Atlantic and basically the Caribbean, and it's blocked by the mountains. So you have wetter region on the Atlantic side. Hi everybody, this is a priceless map. It shows you the percentage of days with rain. Now, doesn't mean a full day of rain, but some rain. You can see how on the North Pacific and generally on the Pacific, it's much drier than on the Atlantic eastern seaboard. I would definitely consider that the Pacific is a better region, and definitely don't go anywhere over 50% with rain.